collection dynamic is one that is pervasive in games as well as classroom environments. It is a dynamic that can be revamped using gamification to infuse intrinsic motivation in an area that is otherwise extrinsically dominated. This dynamic manifests itself anywhere that students or players collect items, tokens, pieces, etc., use those items, tokens, pieces to gain a strategic advantage, acquire territories from others or before others, or allocate a limited number of resources strategically. A great way to leverage this dynamic is through the classic scavenger hunt activity, where rather than telling students if they do this, then they will get this item, students have the autonomy to discover content, interact with it, and reap the rewards of hidden items. By structuring the learning in this way, students are motivated to take active ownership in their own pathway to mastery. Rather than being guided passively through content, students explore and make meaningful choices. Items exemplify the immediate feedback that help them shape and make sense of their discoveries. An interesting twist on the collection dynamic is territory acquisition. Coming back to the Monopoly example, in this game players collect properties. However, only one player can collect a property, with the hopes of using that property to collect rent from other players. Players may also choose to trade properties with the hopes of gaining a strategic advantage. Again, the competitive nature of this variation of the collection dynamic means that it requires careful and intentional implementation, or risks creating a negative experience for the student. Another version of the collection dynamic is allocating resources. In this version, players must use the resources they collect in some strategic way. A great way to bring this collection dynamic to the classroom is to use the jigsaw method to have students create the game, where each student is responsible for a particular aspect of the content and creating the items that go with that content, so that each student creates an engaging environment for their peers and gathers the content-related items that their peers have set before them. While the collection dynamic is fairly universal in terms of classroom experience, it often only taps into extrinsic motivation. So let's look at how the gamified experience uses the collection dynamic to tap into intrinsic motivation. Students have a very autonomous experience by choosing items that are important to them, how they get those items, and how or when to use those items. Collecting items helps to chunk a learning experience and the pace at which that learning is experienced. Combined with immediate feedback, learners are intuitively matched to their appropriate level of challenge. Think about what makes Pokemon Go such an engaging experience. In part, it's because it's not experienced in isolation. Players get to show off rare creatures they've caught, interesting items they've found, and the strategies they use to get those things.